My name is Sergio Lobo. I'm very excited to have you all here. I think this is going to be a great experience for everyone. Welcome to Costa Rica first. Welcome to the University of Costa Rica. And welcome to LanammeUCR, which is this research center that we are right now. This is the very first preemptive Advanced Studies Institute. This workshop is sponsored by the National Science Foundation and is the product of the work of Professors Johnson and Ragusa from University of Southern California, Professor Christensen from University of Connecticut, and a group of workers, collaborators here at the University of Costa Rica, including myself. I'm going to spend the next few minutes trying to give you a little bit of information about what we do here at the University of Costa Rica, LanammeUCR, and specifically what we do here at the Structural Engineering program. So, a few facts of the University of Costa Rica you are seeing over there. I just want to point out that we have several campuses around the country. We are right here right now. This is the province of San Jose, the canton of San Pedro, the canton of Montes de Oca, the district of San Pedro. There are some few facts over there that you can read. I just want to maybe emphasize and say some things that I think are interesting. For example, you might be seeing these buildings when you came back, when you came to this building. What we have over there is the sunflower. The sunflower is always looking at the sun, and this is kind of an inspiration to us to look and search for light. So this is our symbol of the university, and you might have seen this in this building and another building too. Another thing that I want to point out is that we have in total 46 research centers, and one of them is precisely the one that we are right now. This is called LanammeUCR. LANAMME stands for Laboratorio Nacional de Materiales y Modelos Estructurales de la Universidad de Costa Rica, and that means National Materials and Structural Models Laboratory. This is an academic research entity that belongs to the Civil Engineering Department of the University of Costa Rica. It was originally created in 1951, and the reason for creating this institute originally was to control the quality of the materials used in the construction of the very first international airport that we had. That happened in 1951, but it has been evolving since then. This is the building A, that's how we call it. If you go outside of this auditorium and go downstairs, you're gonna be there. So we have also these two other buildings that you are seeing over here. We are right now in this one, which is building B and building C. So as I was saying before, we do many activities, and some of them are listed here. We do teaching, we do research, collaboration with technical institutions from Costa Rica and from other countries as well. And one of the things that is important to say here is that we also have to comply with this law, Costa Rican Law 8114. And this is very important because a lot of the work that we do here is related to the compliance to this law. We have the mandated duty of audit the construction and conservation of the national highway network. So when we do the tours next week, you're gonna see that many of the things that we do here are related to this law. I have here a simplified version of the organization and structure of this research institute. You have the administration, labs. We have 4 different programs that do academic work. We have transportation infrastructure, structural engineering, earthquake engineering, natural hazards management, and geotechnical engineering. I want to emphasize today the work that we do at the structural engineering program, which is the one that I'm working right now, and this is the one that is in charge of this workshop. The structural engineering program is divided in these two working units, buildings and research unit. This is the one that I'm right now with Maria, and the bridges unit, which has 5 engineers, and I'm gonna introduce to you in the end. The main goal of the structural engineering program is to contribute to the development of the structural engineering in Costa Rica. We are an academic center, and we have these 3 pillars that are common to all the universities, I would say anywhere, which is teaching, research, and outreach. And I'm gonna give you some examples of what we have been doing in the past years in each one of these areas. In the case of teaching, you can imagine we contribute with courses in both undergrad and grad levels. We also do advisory for undergrad and grad thesis, student competitions, and education projects such as this one that I'm showing here, which is we have 4 shake tables, and we want to increase the use of these shake tables for education and research projects as well. So it's basically what you would expect from any other university, right? We also have research projects. They are in different stages of development. For example, this one that I'm showing here. We, in this country, have very few applications of seismic protective systems in structures such as buildings and bridges. So we have this need to increase the use of these systems to better protect our infrastructure. So we have this project in which we want to develop the technical capacity that we have in this country to be able to use these systems in a more regular basis. We have thought that for being able to do that, we will need to be able to do laboratory testing. We have to implement in the Costa Rican building codes. We have to be able to teach for students and be able to train professionals in the industry, local industry that we have here. This proposal is going to be presented to the USAID, which is an agency for international development. We have another project which is related to non-destructive testing. We also want to increase the use of these systems that we already have. Some others that we are willing to purchase as well. And the intention is that eventually we will be able to use it in a more regular basis and expand the research in this area as well. We also have a structural monitoring, health monitoring of bridges. I'm not going to go too deep into this research project because we have another presentation that Helen is going to provide today. So she's going to give you more details about what we have been doing in the past years. Another project that I think is interesting is the post-earthquake inspection protocol. So we have collected data from different bridges around the country, and we have created these fragility curves, and after the occurrence of an earthquake, with those fragility curves, we can estimate which one of the bridges are priority in the inspections. So we have created a web-based tool in which you can see in real time, after the occurrence of an earthquake, which bridges should be inspected first. I have a link over there, but I would like rather keep going with the presentation because I'm running out of time. And finally, as I was saying before, we have this big duty of comply with the law, Costa Rican law, because a percentage of the tax fuel is coming to the university, such that we can ensure that we have the best quality possible, the best practices possible in the management of the bridges. So we do a number of things. We do bridge inspections, we create inspection protocols and electronic data collection tools. And the intention is that eventually we can generate things like the one that I'm showing here, which is a web-based catalog of all the bridges that we have in the country. That the intention is that we're going to have all the characteristics of the bridges that we have over here, and we are going to have information about the condition of these bridges as well. We also have a project that is related to training people to be able to inspect bridges. You know that inspecting bridges is a complicated task, and especially after the occurrence of an earthquake or another extreme event, we need people to be able to tell us how is the condition of the bridges in a quickly way. So we have created this module, which is web-based, to be able to train people in the first stages to be able to inspect bridges in many situations. And of course, with all this information that we collect, we want to feed that information to the codes of the bridges, right? So this is very brief overview. This is a very brief overview of what we do here. We do many other things, of course, but there are some examples that hopefully can give you a picture of what can possibly we do together in the future, in the years to come. And with that, I want to go back to the original reason for us to being here, which is the preemptive ASI Costa Rica. So here's the thing. We have a country which has many natural hazards. We have earthquakes, volcanoes, heavy rain, hurricanes. And the question, you know that every preemptive is going to have a theme, right? And the theme of this particular preemptive workshop is resilience in aging infrastructure. So the question is how to provide resilience for infrastructure in this context. And we have these natural hazards that I'm showing over there, but we also have technical challenges associated with the infrastructure itself, technical challenges associated with the protective systems, and, for example, the monitoring systems that we have. We have limited resources. We have increasing political pressure. You know, that's a sensitive thing for the public. And we have increasing risk for factors, for example, like climate change, aging infrastructure, and population growth. So hopefully in the next week, we are going to share experiences, be able to learn from each other, and try to shed some light into this very hard question, which is a really, really hard question to answer. And I'm really excited to be able to share with you all. I'm sure that this is going to be a very fruitful activity, and I just want to welcome you again. Here's the whole thing on the structural engineering program. Esteban, Maria, Paulo, myself, Rolando, which is the head of the structural engineering program, Sergio, another one, Helen, and Luis. So just Maria and I am from the from the buildings and research working unit, and the rest are belongs to the bridges unit. That's all that I have to say today, and again, thank you.
Good morning. Glad we all got here safely. Only one slight delay. Where's Scott? Yeah, only one slight delay. So again, welcome. I'm Eric Johnson. I'm at the University of Southern California. And what I'm going to try and do is give you a little bit of background on where did this whole preemptive thing come from. So it started with something that U.S. National Science Foundation called the SAVI program, the Science Across Virtual Institutes. So this was a special program that cut across all disciplines at the National Science Foundation to try to promote international collaboration, give U.S. researchers experience and connections in other countries in the area of research, and provide opportunities both to do research and to build long-term collaborations. And so the program manager in the area that has often funded work in protective systems, in structural engineering, Joy Poschke, she had suggested it as something that researchers in the area might want to consider doing. So main thing, so this was a program that started about 6 or 7 years ago. It no longer exists. I don't know why, but it was relatively short-lived. It was intended to foster interactions among scientists and educators around the globe to accelerate scientific advances, and recognizing that many of the scientific challenges, engineering challenges that we have in the US also are challenges elsewhere, here in Costa Rica and elsewhere. And the intent of this then was to help try and form these collaborations in some sort of cohesive group that would lead to long-lasting possible collaborations. So Dr. Rich Christensen and I and Dr. Giselle Ragusa, Gigi. Gigi's not here yet. She's coming Saturday? Saturday. We'll see her on video hopefully later this morning. We wrote a proposal to NSF to bring junior faculty from the US and a few senior faculty to 3 different places around the world to learn from what had happened in recent earthquakes in those countries. So this project was particularly focused on seismic protective systems. We were looking primarily at the seismic aspects of things. And you can see some of the places that some of our faculty came from, and we went to Japan and New Zealand and to Chile because of the recent earthquakes. So the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in Japan, a sequence of earthquakes that have happened in Christchurch, New Zealand, the Canterbury area, and Chile, Santiago has had a number of large events over the years as well. So the main motivation here was to provide junior faculty from the US opportunities to learn from distinguished senior US and international experts. Well, that's funny. Sorry. This is still showing this first slide. Wonder why. Understand how seismic protective systems performed in some of those major earthquakes, and to study both successes and failures, and to determine research needs that we could bring back to the US to help focus the work that we do. And this preemptive, we should have written the full acronym out here. It was Pacific Rim. Oh, it is. No, that's the new one. That's the new one. Pacific Rim Earthquake Engineering, something virtual environment. Oh, it's on the T-shirt. Okay, thank you. Anyway, but we tried to make a catchy acronym for the title. But the whole idea is we wanted to help be more preemptive in thinking ahead to the kinds of research that needs to be done before the next big earthquake happens. And so we did this primarily through a series of international workshops. The first one was in Japan in 2015. We partnered with Taichiro Okazaki at Hokkaido University, Koju Ikago at Tohoku University, and Masayoshi Nakashima he was at Kyoto University at the time, he's now at Kojima Corporation. So we had a sequence of meetings. We had a couple days in Tokyo first. We had a special joint set of sessions with the Japan Association for Earthquake Engineering, including both some oral presentations as well as some poster presentations. And then we had a workshop at Tohoku University, which is in Sendai, which is sort of the largest city in the area that was impacted by the events in 2011. We had a chance to see some of the innovative seismic protective systems devices that they have installed in structures there in the Tohoku area. And then also went out and were able to tour some of the areas that have been impacted. So this particular structure was, if I remember correctly, it was the emergency management facility in the little town of Minami Sanruku, which basically the entire town was wiped out. And this they've left this, the shell of the building was still there. Most of the cladding got ripped off by the water coming through, but they've left it as sort of a memorial to help remember. Also had some cultural experiences, got to eat some good food, some interesting food, and see some different parts of the country. The second workshop was in New Zealand. We partnered with Jeff Rogers and Jeff Chase, both at the University of Canterbury, which is in Christchurch. And so again, we had, the workshop was split between Christchurch and Taupo. I'll explain that in a second. So first we had a workshop at the University of Canterbury, which is one of the top 2 engineering schools in New Zealand, the other being the University of Auckland. We had a chance to visit a bunch of the new construction that has been gone up in the Central Business District and look at some of the ways that they have changed their design to, based upon the effects of the earthquake. So this is my former postdoc, Patrick Bruick. They've used base isolation in many more buildings, both conventional at the ground level as well as above the first story in some structures. We also toured a number of the areas impacted by the earthquakes there. There's a whole area of the city that basically has been condemned and can no longer be built because of massive liquefaction and lateral spreading of the soil, mostly around the little river that runs through Christchurch. And then second half in Taupo, we had a joint workshop with Quake Corps, which is a national research center in New Zealand, funding earthquake engineering research. Oops. That'll become apparent here in a second what that means. Then we had a workshop in Chile, partnering with Fabian Rojas and Ruben Boroshek from the University of Chile. Fabian is a graduate of my department, so he was my TA at some point, and so I kind of twisted his arm to help us. And this was in Santiago in January 2017, and we had a workshop there just prior to the most recent World Conference on Earthquake Engineering. We had a chance to visit some of their labs and see some of the experiments that they are doing. Toured some areas around there, including one of their showcase bridges. Well, that's what the arrow was supposed to be. The arrow was supposed to be in front right here. These are people right here. So we were able to walk out through the bridge and down in a hatch out onto the central pier, and you could look down over the edge. I don't remember, what was it, 200 feet down or something like that, 300 feet down? I didn't show those pictures. I also have never shown them to my wife either. She might not let me go on any more of these trips. Anyway, we had a chance to, so this is a hard picture to see, but this is Professor Ian Buckle from University of Nevada, Reno, pointing out some details of the sliding isolators on this particular bridge. And we had a chance again to enjoy the country a little bit. We had a very nice lunch out by the sea and took a nice group picture there. Yeah, there's my arrow again. And then we were able to join in the Earthquake Engineering Conference. Oh, oops. One last comment on this one I thought was funny. One of the lead faculty from the University of Chile that gave us a lecture talked about some of the history of seismicity in Santiago and in Chile in general. And he referred to Santiago as the world's largest shake table. Because of so many big earthquakes that they've had. So, and then we had one final workshop in Los Angeles just after the most recent U.S. National Conference on Earthquake Engineering. Since many of our international partners were going to be in Los Angeles for this conference, we said, okay, let's try and get everybody together again. And we had a workshop at University of Southern California, and we had a chance to visit some structures in LA that have base isolation. So this is the Los Angeles Cathedral, the home of the Archbishop for Los Angeles. And it is a base isolated structure, so we were able to go down and tour the isolation layer under the building. And then we also visited the Los Angeles City Hall, which is an historic structure. It was built in the 1920s. But after the Northridge earthquake, they decided that there'd been enough damage from the Northridge earthquake and several previous ones that they wanted to preserve it so that it would be useful, functional, and available well into the 21st century. And so this structure was retrofitted as base isolation. So basically cut off all the columns, jack the building up, and put isolators underneath. Huge, huge project. And then we had a nice lunch and tour overlooking the city up in Griffith Observatory. So to summarize, so we had lectures at these 4 workshops. We've been developing some web modules. Some of those you've seen on the D2L site that you've been on. A number of national, international collaborations have developed as a part of this. Some between people from within the U.S. that just got to know each other over the course of several of these workshops, as well as some of the partnerships with people in some of the other countries. And so it was the success of this project. I had a autocorrect here, I think. It was the success of this project that led Dr. Christensen, Dr. Ragusa, and I to think about, well, how can we extend this and broaden the impact? And so we started thinking about, instead of junior faculty, what if we invite PhD students, generally in the area of hazard mitigation, some specifically in structural engineering and protective systems. So that's a little of the background. And so we were obviously successful with another NSF proposal that's providing our trip here. So I hope that this is a worthwhile week for you, and I look forward to getting to know you all better, and for you all to get to know each other, and especially our Costa Rican colleagues here too. So welcome.
So the issue that we had before with the credit payment is solved, but it's going to be done at noon, more or less. So we have to make a line and and just make the payment at noon. So please stay around so we can do the actual payment.
Okay, so I'm Rich Christensen, and welcome again. So you've heard a little bit about, Professor Johnson talked about kind of the history of preemptive and what it was, and so these slides are to talk about what it is now, right? So what is it moving forward to, and what is it becoming? And this is, again, part of a new NSF grant from the United States National Science Foundation. And this was to set up these advanced study institutes. So that's what this week-long project is. It's an ASI, an Advanced Study Institute. And I'm going to talk a little bit here. If we can get Gigi Ragusa connected in right now, we will. If not, we might bring her in right after break. So after I talk, we'll take a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back. So this is this similar map to what Professor Johnson showed with the previous preemptive, but we've added a few more sites to this, and we're excited about this. So now, in 3 years, instead of going to 3 places, we're going to go to 6 places as a total group. And we're starting out, of course, here in Costa Rica, and then we will move and we'll see this. But Thailand, New Zealand, Chile, Puerto Rico, and Japan. And this constitutes this, this series of ASIs that we're going to look at. And the idea of these ASIs, right, are to explore these topics. And now it's not just focused on earthquake engineering, but it's more multi-hazard. So it's disaster science in general, and resilient infrastructure from what we hope to be sort of this multidisciplinary perspective. And if you look around and see, and as you are talking to folks, there are a number of structural engineering people that are in the room and that are involved in this, but we are also trying to inject and add other types of hazards and even other completely different ways of thinking. So psychology, communications, different non-engineering ways that we can try to think about these problems. So this is exciting, and one of the things that we'd like to try to introduce are new perspectives to how maybe we as structural engineers think about everything with our head down in this. These again are the 6 ASIs that we're intending to go to. Thailand is likely June that will happen this year, and then nominally in January and May moving forward as well. And I might put out there, in general, this will be a new group of participants for each of these ASIs. However, the thought is that at each of the new ASIs, there would be a former US participant from a previous ASI, which means if you think of your odds, of the 15 of you that are here, right, that there's potentially opportunity for 5 people to be able to go to a second ASI. And so this is what we have moving forward, and the intent is to train or to introduce a diverse group of graduate students in the broad areas of protective systems and disaster mitigation. And a lot of this too is being able to come to different places and see things firsthand, right? Instead of reading about it in journal publications or hearing about it from lectures at your own institution, but to show up and to walk around and see and what is this really like on the ground. And this, I think, is a really neat opportunity for us to come to Costa Rica and to see these field trips that we will go on, but also the opportunity to talk to the engineers and the people here in Costa Rica about what are some of the things that they're doing, hear about what things that they're doing, and ask for the questions and get into dialogue. And one of the big things that we would like to see develop from this are collaborations. And collaborations maybe amongst yourselves, but collaborations with people down here in Costa Rica as well. And I think an important thing to recognize is that you as students hopefully won't always be students, but will soon, maybe fairly soon, be faculty members, right? And be looking at what kind of research opportunities do you have, and what sort of opportunities are there to collaborate with people in different locations around the world. And hopefully there's some ideas that get sparked with what opportunities are there to collaborate down here in Costa Rica. And vice versa, I would I guess I'm speaking to the US participants, but to the Costa Rican participants, it's an idea to understand around the US, what are some of the different laboratories and universities doing here in the US, and what opportunities are there to collaborate with us as well. So hopefully this is the beginning of a lot of many exciting opportunities. These, in general then, this is the framework, right? It would be week-long participation with graduate students, faculties, and faculty, and we have down here, there are 15 US graduate students that we have, and there are 5 faculty, including the three PIs, and we're going to hear from lectures from Justin and Scott later this morning. And then in addition to that, there are 15 more Costa Rican faculty and students that are welcoming us and engaging in the discussions as well and providing presentations as well. So 2 to 3 days of workshops, presentations. There are technical cultural tours that we're going on, and then at the end, the last couple of days will be some collaborative projects to think about some of the things we've seen and try to put them together into what might this look like for research topics, research ideas, and get you thinking in that sense. So our goal here is to again build this diverse community, right, of researchers across the Pacific Rim and beyond. So obviously hitting Puerto Rico as well, and looking at multi-hazards, but people who basically share a focused interest, right, in understanding, promoting, accelerating the adoption of protective systems. So how can we protect our structures from multi-hazards, from various hazards? Let's see what we have. Okay, so this is speaking more toward maybe the U.S. Students on this. She's available. Okay.
When do you want to try and bring her?
This we can in about 2. We can try to bring her in now. So we're going to bring in Gigi, and she's going to talk about assessment real quick. These are some of the assignments. You had some stuff you had to look at previously. You do have homework while you're here that hopefully won't cut too much into your time to experience where things are at. It's not so significant. Due by Saturday morning, we would like people to, we're gonna see a number of lectures, 5 lectures today, 2 technical lectures tomorrow, and we would like you to write a 1 to 2 page summary on either all of the lectures, some of the lectures, one of the lectures, but write a reflection on some of the lectures that we've seen. These are the U.S. students, and then in addition to that, we're posting these on the D2L site, and this would be then an opportunity to read what other people are doing and make comments on 2 to 3 other of the write-ups. Okay, and the Costa Rican students, if you guys want to get involved in this too, we're not going to stop you from doing homework. No one would ever do that. Or maybe if you don't want to write stuff, if you want to post comments, that would be wonderful. That'd be great. And then we're going to do 3 days of these of different tours, and we can maybe look at the schedule on that. I didn't put that up here, but then a same thing, a summary of the technical tours, one or all or some of them, and the same idea of providing a couple comments from that. And then based off of the active group work that we'll do on Monday and Tuesday is what we want to be able to do is to develop a 1-page project summary of some of the things that we're thinking about and what sort of opportunities for research might these be. And these aren't necessarily research projects that you're looking to submit, but we want you to start thinking about how can you experience and learn about some information and try to focus that into a research statement. So how can I take this experience of what I've seen and what I've done and try to focus that into, what if we could do research in this area? What if we could make this advancement in this area? And so what we'd like to see is a 1-page project summary, and then a 3 to 5 page sort of description of some of the things that your group is working on and looking at. And we will talk more later today about the groups and what those look like, but there'll be 5 different groups with faculty mentors and students, 3 U.S. students, 2 Costa Rican students, or 3 U.S. students, and then multiple Costa Rican students or the faculty members. And then on Wednesday, we're going to do a quick 10-minute presentations on each of these things. Okay, and as you move along in your career, what you'll see is, and maybe you've seen it or not if you've helped write a proposal so far, but when you write a proposal, or maybe you've looked at this, but you always have to include intellectual merit and broader impact. And so this 1-page summary, we want you to think about these ideas and think about these concepts. So, okay, so if we can bring in Gigi, let's do that.
Perfect. All right, good stuff. Okay, so again, you should have completed the pre-travel assessment questionnaire. It looks like nearly everyone has done that. If you haven't, I sent the link a couple of times, and I'm happy to send it again. And then you had a series of 7 video clips to which we wanted you to respond to some guiding questions. We had it loaded up in the assessment feature in addition to the discussion sections for each of the modules. So if you haven't done that already, please do that in the next 24 hours. So we have, and the purpose of that is to kind of have just common ground in terms of assessment, understanding. And then we're going to have group projects. And you may see that there are assignments loaded now on the D2L feature. And during those group projects, I'll be wandering around and I'll be using a rubric to collect some information. And then after the whole travel is over, a couple months later, you're going to get a ping from me again, and a different kind of electronic assessment will occur in which you have an opportunity to talk about your experience. And you might say, why am I waiting 2 months? It'll be between 1 and 2 months. But the rationale being, we want to get a picture for if you're continuing to connect with each other in between our ASIs. So we're really excited about having you with us, and please take full advantage of the time that you're in Costa Rica, and also of using the LMS, the D2L feature, for a variety of different needs, including loading things that you think are important. There's a place where you can load pictures and things like that that you capture while you're on your tours and visits throughout the weekend. And also there's a place where you can just chat. It's called the Costa Rica Cafe. And please just chat with one another about anything under the sun, within reason, of course. And I look forward to meeting with you as soon as I'm able to get down to Costa Rica. Rich, I don't know if you wanted to talk about the discussion sections, or did you want me to? Okay, so we're going to have discussion sections, and they really are a comparison between Costa Rica and the United States, having similar and different challenges. And one of the things that we want to do is both have broaden your experience, if you're from the States, about the... Uh-oh, we're losing me again? Is that what's happening? Okay, oh great, sorry. International Skype is not always quite as robust as in-state, regardless of which area you are. So anyway, we know that both Costa Rica and U.S. have some similar challenges, and we also know that there are some variety in those challenges. So we have a couple of discussion sections in which we'd like you to address some questions, which are on the board here, and we'll leave them up the questions. And I don't know if you want to add to the first section will be on the common challenges and different challenges associated with infrastructure, multi-hazards, and limited resources devoted to infrastructure, then protection systems and advanced technologies and the rules that mitigate the challenges. And what we'd like you to share in that discussion are some common challenges and issues associated with advancing protective devices and systems, Costa Rica and the United States, and what are differences? And then what are some of the needs that research would be able to help address? And what are the paths forward in emerging opportunities? And the idea behind that is to first kind of get common ground around differences and changes, and then really talk about where the research can go and some of the opportunities you have. And there are several faculty in the research that can help you, especially with regard to the forward emerging opportunities. We'll also note that there are some students in the room that are not from natural hazards research in terms of their graduate degree, and they'll have a slightly different perspective than you, and having you in the group together will lead to more interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary and appealing interdisciplinary quite here discussions and eventual. So we have Costa Rica group set up, and they're on this now. I'm not going to read the name, but you can from there to know which group you're in. There will be a second discussion after the first one, and dog park. Mitch, do you want to talk about the second discussion after they do the first?